Hello boys and girls, in this video we're going to go ahead and talk about dividing fractions. Let's take a look at some vocabulary before we get started. We have to know what a reciprocal is, and a reciprocal is when you take a fraction. For example, if you have 1/2 and you flip it upside down, that's how you get the reciprocal of a fraction. So 1/2, its reciprocal will be 2/1. Let's take a look at another example for that. Let's say we have 3/4. If we want the reciprocal of 3/4, we flip that fraction and we end up with 4/3. The same can be done with whole numbers as well. So if I tell you to find the reciprocal of 9, all you would do is think of what 9 would look like as a fraction, and that's something that's very easy to do. Remember that every whole number has an invisible 1 underneath. You flip that and you end up with 1/9. So the reciprocal of 9 is 1/9. All right, now that we have the vocabulary down, let's go ahead and take a look at some example problems here. Here we have 4/3 divided by 1/2. We're going to employ a strategy called keep, change, flip. That means we keep the first fraction intact, we change the sign from division to multiplication, and we flip the second fraction so that we can multiply by the reciprocal. All right, so this is what it would look like. Our new problem will be 4/3 times, and we flip the second fraction, 2/1. Now, when we have this written down as a multiplication problem, all we need to do is multiply across the top. Here, we're going to do 4 times 2. That's going to give us 8. And 3 times 1 is going to give us 3. What we need to remember now is that we have to simplify whatever we end up with. Here, we have an improper fraction, so we're going to go ahead and turn that into a mixed number. We do that easily by doing what it says, 8 divided by 3. Because remember, the fraction bar means to divide. All right, so 8 divided by 3. 3 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. We subtract, we get 2. Now I'm going to do this in different colors here so you can see where all these things go. Our quotient becomes our whole number part of our answer. Our remainder becomes our numerator. And our divisor becomes our denominator. So here's my answer, 2 2/3. All right, let's take a look at another problem. Here we have 3/10 divided by 4/5. Remember, we do keep, change, flip. 3/10 stays intact. We do 3/10. We change that sign to multiplication, and we flip the second fraction. We end up with 5/4. All right, so now we multiply across the top. 3 times 5 gives us 15, and 10 times 4 gives us 40. Now we ask ourselves, is this in simplest form? We can tell it's in simplest form if the greatest common factor of both the denominator and numerator is 1. If we can think of a number greater than 1 that goes into both the top and bottom number, then this is not in simplest form. We can do that also by doing the prime factorization of each. So 15 and 40. I'm going to do that real quick on the side. 3 times 5 is 15, so we circle our prime numbers. 40 we can get like 10 times 4, 2 times 5, prime and prime, and 2 and 2, prime and prime right here. Then what we do is we list the prime factorizations one on top of the other, from least to greatest. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 5, and we find our pairs. Pairs meaning the numbers that appear in both lists. So 3 does not appear in this list, but 5 does appear in both lists. I crossed off one of the lists, and I multiply what's left. Now, I only have one number, so that means that 5 is my GCF, which means I'm going to use that to divide both the numerator and the denominator by that GCF, that greatest common factor. 5 is the biggest number that goes into both 15 and 40 evenly. 15 divided by 5 gives me 3, and 40 divided by 5 gives me 8. So this is my answer in simplest form. I can prove that because 1 is the biggest number that goes evenly into 3 and 8. Let's take a look at another example. In this example, we're looking at dividing a fraction and a whole number. Now, we need our problems to be in the form of two fractions, right? A over B divided by C over D. So the first thing we need to do here is make sure that we turn that whole number into a fraction. We can do that easily because we should all know that every whole number has an invisible 1 underneath. So our new problem is going to be 3/4 divided by 6/1. Now we can go ahead and use that strategy of keep, change, flip. So keep that first fraction, change the sign to multiplication and flip the second fraction. All right, so let me see. Let me pick a color. Let's go with pink. 3/4. Change the sign to multiplication and flip that one to get the reciprocal. 1/6. Now we multiply across the top. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 6 is 24. And we ask ourselves, is the greatest common factor of 3 and 24 1? If it isn't, we have to divide by the greatest common factor. In our case, this is not in simplest form, so we're going to go ahead and divide both of these by what is the greatest common factor. In our case, it's 3. By the way, this is a quick little side note. If the numerator goes evenly into the denominator, then your numerator is automatically your GCF. That's a little cheat. All right, so 3 divided by 3 equals 1, and 24 divided by 3 equals 8. This, boys and girls, is our answer in simplest form. All right, so that was dividing fractions. Make sure if you need more help to check out www.mr.nestinunez.com. Thank you.